My name's Alison Phipps. I am in the Sociology Department here at Sussex. I run the Gender Studies Research Centre and convene the Gender Studies MA programme, and I've recently been promoted to Professor of Gender Studies. What can men do to support female colleagues? Well, don't dismiss their experiences of sexism. I read a really interesting account on Twitter the other day of two employees in the same company, one a man, one a woman, and the man was getting his work done much quicker than the woman was. And they swapped emails for a week, and the results were really amazing. The man found that it was taking him ages to get anything done because he had to prove himself to the clients before he could actually do the work. So if you're a man, remember that your female colleagues are probably struggling with things that you don't even notice. And of course this is magnified if they're women of colour, if they're LGBT, if they're disabled women, etc. The second thing would be to speak out against inequalities when you see them. So for instance, women are often loaded up with teaching and low status admin responsibilities, which make it much more difficult for them to make progress with their research. You can observe other things, for example, how often women are speaking in your department meetings, and you can try to redress the balance, for instance, by inviting your female colleagues to contribute their views if you feel that women aren't speaking as much as the men are. Remember that they are probably carrying a load of emotional labour that you don't. So female colleagues are often called on to do more pastoral care. They're much more likely to be called on by students or other colleagues when there are problems. So if you're a man, then it's good to acknowledge this, but also maybe try to find ways to rebalance this. We're doing some training in the university at the moment on how to respond to disclosures of sexual violence, and there have been many more women taking up that opportunity than men. So if you're a man, consider taking up opportunities like that to show that you're open and to help rebalancing the load. And I think the last thing I would say is to support parents of any gender, really. So maternity leave is a difficult time, parental leave, adoption leave, especially as your department doesn't necessarily get the funding to cover your absence, so you have to rely on the goodwill of your colleagues. I've been very lucky to have supportive colleagues, but if your colleagues aren't supportive, and you're having to kind of ask people for favours, then it must feel really, really difficult. Also, people with parental or caring responsibilities need their colleagues to be understanding of that, so don't organise important meetings or networking opportunities at unsociable hours. Don't expect people to answer emails 24/7. Don't send emails on Friday and expect them to be answered by Monday, so you're expecting people to work over the weekend. And a lot of this is just good work-life balance for anybody, really. Okay, 3 things that part-time colleagues should remember when aiming for promotion. I think work smart rather than work hard. So look at your CV, look at the criteria, figure out where the gaps are, and then do kind of focus work on filling those gaps. If you have young kids, as part-timers often do, make use of tools like the internet. So Skyping into conferences or meetings, or using blogging and social media to increase your impact and your presence. I've done a lot of this because my kids are still young, they're 6 and 3, so I don't travel very much at all. So I've used the internet a lot to be there when I can't be there. I also tend to make everything do double or triple duty, which is really helpful. So a lot of my journal articles start out as talks and then as blogs, and then I work them up for submission to a paper. I think the other thing to remember is that it's about quality rather than quantity, and that's increasingly the case with the way the REF discussions are going. People may well be submitting fewer outputs but being expected to submit higher quality outputs. So you don't have to have a really long publication list to show that you're making your mark on a field. It's more about the quality of what you're working. And the same with impact, you don't have to be everywhere all the time. And I think that's often what academics who do impact work feel, and that's not necessarily the case. And then also remember to let the panel know that you have been working part-time, because this enhances your achievements.